Good afternoon. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee for August 20, 2024. I'm Councilmember Jamal Osman, and I'm the chair of this committee. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcasted live to enable a greater public participation. This broadcasts include real-time captioning as further method to increase the accessibility of our proceeding to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate their speed and clarify their comment. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chowdhury.
Present.
Vice Chair Ellison is absent. Chair Osman.
Present.
There are 4 members present.
Let the record reflect we have a quorum. Councilmember Jenkins will be joining us, and also Councilmember Allison is in Chicago, the DNC. All right, consent items. The agenda is before us today. Items 6 through 21 are open consent agenda. Item 6 is 2 liquor license approvals. Item 7 is gambling license approval. Item 8 is approving exclusive tobacco dealer license with business license operating condition for High Five Tobacco at 101 Grant Street. Item 9 is approving a rental dwelling license reinstatement at 2527 10th Avenue South. Item 10 and 11 are authorizing contract for traffic management services with the University of Minnesota and U.S. Bank Stadium. Item 12 is accepting an art and music grant for from Hennepin County for various art organizations. Item 13 is granting a support for Hennepin County Transit-Oriented Community Program applications and authorizing multi-jurisdiction agreement. Item 14 is approving a revised development terms for development of partial 6A at Arbor Harbor Terminal. Item 15 is authorizing an item amendment to the 2011 Blissberry Avenue loan agreement. Item 16 is a street vacation at Elm Street Southeast. Item 17 is a street vacation at 2414 7th Avenue Southeast. Item 18 is setting a public hearing for September 10 to consider modification to 3 TIF plans or TIF plans. Item 19 is setting a public hearing for September 10 to consider the rental pre-eviction notification ordinance. Item 10 is setting a public hearing for September 10 to consider a land sale at 2114 23rd Avenue North. Item 21 is setting a public hearing for September 24 to consider 2025 license fee schedule. Would anyone would like to pull any item of these items for any question? Councilmember Cashman.
Yes, thank you, Chair Osman. I'd like to pull item number 8, the High Five Tobacco business license, for a separate discussion.
All right. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I'd like to pull item number 12, which is the 2024 Hennepin County Youth Activities Art and Music Grant, just so the public can hear a little bit about this work.
Thank you. All right. I would like to approve for all items, items 6 through 21, except item 12 and item 8 that Councilmember Chowdhury and Cashman pull. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it and the motion carries. Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Ellison. So the... I'm so sorry. All right, so Item number 8 is a tobacco business license, and the property of this business application has been very problematic in the Loring Park neighborhood for several years. It's owned by Super America Speedway and has been a very dangerous site for community members. Lots of problems with loitering, drug use, and other crimes taking place in that parking lot. The neighborhood association actually had to invest in fencing to surround this lot just as a safety measure. So there is a lot of concern from community about how, with a new business coming into this space, how they will be kept safe. And I've had some great discussions with Amy Lingo and Director Hansen about what their process has been like for the applicant to this business license. So wondering if Amy, if you could come up and help us understand, what are the conditions of the business license? What did it look like to create a safety plan and a set of conditions for this site? And how do we plan to enforce those conditions?
Thank you, Chair Osman, Councilmember Cashman. So this license application, we have taken quite a lengthy process in order to work with the business due to the nature of the location. We first received the application in January of 2024. We had them go through the police security review process, even though that is not a standard procedure for the exclusive tobacco dealers, just because of that location. We do have a signed security plan from the first police precinct. That was signed in May of 2024. We also have proposed 11 conditions based off of the concerns and the behaviors that were in that area. This license itself is planning on only being open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Their initial request was midnight, but they were willing to have the same hours as the rest of the mall. And so the conditions that we have proposed are the license agrees to no trespassing and no loitering signs to be clearly posted. And the staff will immediately ask people that are observed to loitering anywhere on the premises to leave and to call 911. The licensee agrees to actively address security concerns, including loitering, drug activity, trespassing, and to develop a written policy for trespassing. The licensee shall take all necessary and prudent steps to avoid violent incidents from occurring at their establishment by assessing customer behaviors and to report any criminal activity. The license agrees that any vehicle parked in their dedicated parking spaces whose occupants are not making a purchase shall be trespassed. The licensee shall hire employees whose primary duties will be to deal with litter collection and removal, including areas surrounding the business. Another core duty will be monitoring and enforcing the no loitering and trespassing policies during all hours of operations. The licensee shall introduce a schedule that will show when cleaning was done and which employee did said cleaning. The licensee agrees to submit and follow a business plan during all hours of operations. The licensee agrees to provide a uniform that clearly distinguishes employees from the public. The licensee is prohibited from allowing any consumption of alcohol beverage within the establishment. The business agrees not to sell items which are commonly used by drug users and drug dealers. And dedicated security staff shall assist in crowd dispersal for at least 1/2 hour after closing of the establishment to prevent loitering. It should also be known that this licensee has an existing license in St. Paul that's been in good standing since 2015. The way that our enforcement processes work is we are intrinsically complaint-driven. We will investigate any and all complaints as well as our standard monitoring processes. Anything that is outside of either ordinance work or outside of the conditions or outside of the business plan that is causing issues, we will address them accordingly using our education first progressive enforcement model, which can have citations and move up to license settlement conferences and up to possible revocation if necessary.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful. I just wanted to ask, there's some concern around why there wasn't a public hearing in this case, and also why the standard rules for a tobacco shop within proximity to a school and another tobacco shop are not in place in this case.
Through the chair, Councilmember Cashman, this area is zoned Downtown 1, and in Downtown 1 there are no spacing requirements from schools, places of worship, or other exclusive tobacco dealers. And this particular license type is not one that is required to have a public hearing.
Okay, thank you. And in the past few years, maybe before my time on council, was there any discussion about changing the zoning of this lot, as far as you know?
Not as I'm aware.
Okay. So I will be motioning to delay this item one cycle, which is a 3-week delay in this case, since we will have 3 weeks before our next biz meeting. And the purpose of that motion is to allow for us to schedule a community meeting with many neighbors that live in this area, as well as other business owners, and to talk through how all of us can contribute to the enforcement of these conditions and really work together on proactive safety approaches here. Invite you to be part of that meeting, as well as Director Hansen. I know that you know the neighborhood well, and thank you for your willingness to participate in that conversation. I'm looking at the week of September 1st in the evening for that meeting. And so, yeah, I'll have that motion on the table and ask if there's a second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cashman. I also receive emails from residents that are concerned. I think it's a very good idea to kind of step back and really listen to the community members and the business community in the area. And also, the place has been vacant, so it's always it's nice to have businesses to come back in the area. So I support that. With that motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Before we move to item 12, I would like to recognize Councilmember Jenkins, who have joined us. Councilmember Chowdhury, would you like to speak to your item?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to take a second to pull this item. I took a look through the RCA and the RIA, and just wanted an opportunity to kind of hear from staff as the city is participating sort of as a fiscal agent to support art and music programming with their youth. It spans through the Jordan, Lowry Hill, Powderhorn Park, and Venturaville, and Willard Hay neighborhood, and just wanted an opportunity to hear like what are the expectations around implementation, the impacts that we're hoping to get, maybe highlight some of the work that these organizations that are receiving this funding is already doing, and how it'll support our youth.
Thank you, Chair Osman, and thank you all council members. My name is Addie Gonzalez. I'm the Executive Manager for the Department of Arts and Cultural Affairs. So this REA is to accept $74,000 from Hennepin County. Hennepin County actually requires an LGU, which is a local government unit, to work with nonprofit arts organizations. Our department is committed to equitable funding practices, and this is a way for us to broaden that outreach to different arts organizations that might not have the capacity, administrative capacity, to access these funds. And so we've already worked with Hennepin County in the past with similar, these are like considered pass-through funds, so we're just helping them administer this money. Some of the oversight that we do in our department is just like work really closely with the organizations, ensure that they're doing what they propose that they would be doing, and that their outreach is really focused on BIPOC communities. And so that's what we are doing with one of the organizations is Chicago Avenue Fire Arts Center. They do incredible work. And so this particular grant is for art and music. And so that's what they're going to be focusing all of their programming on. And then the second, the appropriation is approving the funds so that our department can work and invoice and pass the funds through the organizations. Yeah. Is there anything else?
No, that's it. I just wanted to say thank you for your work and our team on it around equitable impact and kind of uplifting this. I just wanted to take a second for it because we passed these things through committee, but it is a major investment to our BIPOC community and our youth, and just wanted to show my gratitude for your work on this, and thank Hennepin County for also granting these funds.
Thank you. Yeah, and we'll have more of our impact report from the previous recipients. We're doing some site visits with them in the next 6 weeks. So I'll have more information on all of the metrics of how that's impacting our communities. Thank you.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I did just want to chime in and recognize Chicago Avenue Fire Arts Center, which is Ward 8 adjacent. It's directly across the street, but more importantly, it is in George Floyd Square, and this grant will provide opportunities for young people in and around George Floyd Square to be able to experience the Chicago Avenue Fire Arts Center, which is one of the 5 fire art facilities in the entire country. And so it's a unique opportunity for young people to be able to engage with the work there and incorporate music into that as well. And some of the other projects that are listed here are equally as meaningful and important. So thanks to our staff as well as Hennepin County for these grants and pass-throughs. Thank you.
Right. Would you like to make the motion?
I move that this item be approved.
Second.
All right. With that motion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Next, we have 3 licensed public hearing. The first is an application from Small Hours for on-sale wine, strong beer, no live entertainment. I will ask Akbar Mohammed from licensing to give us that presentation.
Thank you, Chair Osmond and committee members. I am Akbar Mohammed with Licenses and Consumer Services. I'm presenting an application from Small Hours LLC, doing business as Small Hours, located at 2201 2nd Street Northeast in Ward 1. Small Hours will be a wine-focused restaurant that serves a small menu of food plates. The proposed hours of operation are for the interior will be Wednesday and Thursday, 4 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Friday through Sunday, 5 p.m. to 12 a.m. They have indoor seating for 34 patrons. On August 5th, 126 public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were also sent to Bottineau Neighborhood Association and Northeast Minneapolis Chamber Business Association, and Councilmember Elliott Payne. We have received 2 comments from the community. 2 are opposed, and their concerns are traffic, parking issues, loud music, and patrons. A review of any complaints, 311 calls, police calls, and operating conditions show no significant issues concerning the business or issuance of this license. The Licenses and Consumer Services Division recommends approval of an on-sale wine, strong beer, no entertainment license. This concludes my presentation. At this time, I will stand for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I'm going to open the public hearing, and our first speaker is Serena. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce Corey last name. And Sam, welcome.
Garibovich.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. Thank you, council members. We're just really excited to bring this idea that we've been working on together for 2 or 3 years to the community. We're excited to be part of the neighborhood and bring a warm and welcoming space to our neighbors.
Sam and I both have a long background in what we're proposing the concept of our restaurant to be. And I personally really am excited to bring a different kind of aspect of wine to our guests, one that focuses in small farmers and producers from all over the world. And as Sam said, just in a really warm and welcoming environment in which we'll both be present at all hours of operation.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the. Oh, yes, please. Yes, please come on in. State your name.
Don't know the rules.
That's fine.
My name's Erica. I'm one of the owners of Violet Wine. We're just about a mile or so away from where Smaller's is going to be opening, and I just wanted to come by today and share that our customers, our shop, first off, has a very similar idea just for off-sale as Serena and Sam's. We're focused on a community, on small, sustainable producers, and our customers have expressed a lot of interest and excitement over their wine bar and restaurant coming to the neighborhood, and I've been hearing about it more almost from my customers than from the wine community that we're both a part of. So I just wanted to come and share that it seems like at least the neighborhood, which is really our strongest customers, our most regular customers, are really excited about it. So
Awesome. Thank you so much for your testimony. Anyone else? See none, I'll close the public hearing. And are there any questions or any discussion from the members? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. Just a quick question. Is this the building that used to have Moth Oddities in it, which is moved now? Okay, it's a really, really cute
See.
spot. Just want to wish you all the best in your business.
All right. Perfect. Yes, thank you, and good luck to you having a business city of Minneapolis. I will move this item forward, and all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you. All right, our next item is a public hearing for Tono Pizzeria for a sidewalk licensed cafe. I'll ask Joseph Olson from licensing to give us that presentation. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Chair Osmond and committee members. I'm Joseph Olson with Licenses and Consumer Services. Today, I'm presenting an application from Tono Minneapolis LLC, doing business as Tono Pizzeria and Cheesesteak located at 3002 50th Street West in Ward 13. Tono is a brand-new establishment currently under construction, hoping to open before the end of the month. Today, Tono is requesting a sidewalk cafe license. The sidewalk cafe comprises approximately 100 square feet directly in front of the building, the restaurant, and has a seating capacity of 10 seats. Tono's hours of operation for the sidewalk cafe will match the hours of the restaurant, which are 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. On July 30th, public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 300 feet of the premises, and notices were also sent to the Fulton Neighborhood Association, the Southwest Business Association, and Council Member Linnea Palmisano. We have received one comment from the community in support of this cafe. A review of any complaints, 311 calls, police calls, have shown no significant issues concerning the business. The License and Consumers Division recommends approval of the sidewalk cafe license. And this concludes my presentation. I will stand for any questions that you may have. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions? See none, I will now open the public hearing, and first speaker is Keith from Tono. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. It's actually Kevin Kurtz, K-U-R-T-Z. I'm the operations manager for, everybody says it wrong, it's all good. I have terrible handwriting. And that's what my wife tells me anyway. Anywho, I'm the operations manager for Tono Pizzeria. This will actually be our 7th location. We have 3 more that are in construction right now throughout the state, down in Apple Valley, Inver Grove, and then into Elk River. We're a local organization that started 5 years ago in Maplewood. We've been able to expand about 2 restaurants every year since. So it's just, Mom was from Sicily, or from Philadelphia. Dad was from Sicily, and that's how they came up with the concept to have oven pizzas and cheesesteaks. We have Amorosa rolls. We have a gentleman that's been emailing me weekly for the last 6 months, wondering when we're going to open Rex down there. So we've taken over the old Michelangelo facility is where we're at. So we're very excited to be in the neighborhood, and we're just anxious to get open and get everybody some good pizzas and cheesesteaks. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Are there any questions? Or seeing none, I will make the motion to approve this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you so much, and good luck to you, sir. All right. Our next item is a public hearing for Lanyap du Nord, cocktail for on-sale liquor. I invite Director Amy Lingo from the license.
Thank you, Chair Osmond and committee members. Again, I'm Amy Lingo, Manager for Licenses and Consumer Services. I'm presenting an application from 2700 Lake Restaurant LLC, DBA as Lanyap du Nord Cocktail Room, located at 2700 East Lake Street in Ward 2. The applicant is requesting an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales and a limited entertainment license. This restaurant has an indoor seating capacity of 174 with no outdoor seating. They will be offering a bar and restaurant serving New Orleans cuisine under two concepts, Lanyap and Du Nord, with ambient music. Hours of operations, Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. On August 8th, 2024, public hearing notices were sent to property owners within 600 feet of the premises. Notices were sent also to the Longfellow Neighborhood Association, the Longfellow Business Association, and Councilmember Wansley. We have received 0 comments from the community. A review of any complaints, 311 calls, police calls, and operating conditions shows no significant issues concerning the business or issuance of this license. The Licenses and Consumer Service Divisions recommends approval of an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales and limited entertainment license for Lanyap du Nord Cocktail Room. This concludes my presentation. At this time, I'll stand for any comments or questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And now I will proceed to open the public hearing and call Chris Montaigne. I think that's how you say it. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, Chair. My name's Chris Montana. I own Du Nord Social Spirits, which is a micro distillery in South Minneapolis. And by virtue of that, I'm actually not the owner, but I am married to the owner of the applicant here, my wife Chanel Montana. But together we're extremely excited to be coming back to the neighborhood. We operated a cocktail room up until 2020. And a number of events conspired in 2020, and we haven't been able to have that cocktail room since. And so we've been missing from the neighborhood, and I think the neighborhood's been missing us, but probably not as much as we've been missing them. And so this is our opportunity to come back. We have 2 different concepts here. Lanyap, I know it's difficult to pronounce, but it means a little something extra. So the Lanyap's going to be our full-service sit-down restaurant in the Coliseum building, a building I used to get my hair cut when I was a kid, and I walk by almost every day on my way to Minneapolis South High School. And on the other side, we're going to bring back the Du Nord cocktail room and serve some po' boys out of there. Our spirits, Du Nord, but also other spirits with a particular focus on women-owned businesses and BIPOC-owned distilleries, brewers, and winemakers. So we couldn't be more excited to come back, and we appreciate your consideration of our license.
Thank you so much, Mr. Montana. Appreciate you coming. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask if there's any comments. Or Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I just wanted to give a huge congratulations to you and your wife for coming back into the neighborhood, being within the Coliseum building, the Phoenix, right? The Rose. Du Nord was a really special place for me and so many people that I am in community with. That's where I celebrated my 22nd birthday. When you had BIPOC comedy nights for people to try out their new material. I was brave enough one night and I bombed, but the crowd was super supportive. And just thank you for coming back. We're all so excited. We've missed you. And thank you for your contributions to our community over many years, but especially since 2020, and just caring about the South Side and Minneapolis at large. So just wanted to give you your flowers on that.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I too wanted to just say welcome back and congratulations. The community did miss you, and you were very, I guess I would say, eloquent and generous, as to say events conspired to close you. I mean, the Nord's cocktail room was damaged, destroyed by the riots that ensued after the murder of George Floyd. And it is truly inspiring to see you guys coming back to the same community and bringing your services, expanding your services. So welcome and best of luck. And, you know, I'm sure I'll be there to try out some po' boys, and I don't think I'm going to do the comedy night thing, but but congratulations and welcome back.
Would you like to make the motion, Councilmember Jenkins?
I move this item for approval.
With that motion for approval, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. And now we are our last item for public hearing, and that is receiving a public comment regarding Minneapolis Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Welcome, sir. Matt Brower.
Good evening, good afternoon, Chair Osmond, members of the committee, Matt Bauer, Finance and Property Services. We, at the end of the month, will be submitting our annual performance report to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, detailing our accomplishments over the past year with regard to our Community Development Block Grant, our Home Investment Partnerships Grant, Emergency Solutions Grant, and our Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Grant. One of the requirements that HUD would like to see before submitting the report is a public hearing, and so I request that a hearing be held. And the performance report has been available on the city's website and also at Minneapolis Public Libraries and offices of Mid-Minnesota Legal Assistance. And the comment period for it runs through the 27th of August. I believe that's a week from today. And we'll include any comments received at this hearing and or otherwise written and submitted in the final report that's provided to HUD. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. And now I would like to open the public hearing and call Barb from Elliott Park, Ward 6.
Hi, my name is Barb Lickness, and I live at Runess Assisted Living, formerly Augustana Assisted Living for 123 years. And it is at 1020 East 17th Street in Elliott Park neighborhood of Minneapolis. And I'm here to comment on the proposal ahead of you that I looked at the criterion for these funds, and our neighborhood specifically really matches the funds. My interest as a resident is that the improved neighborhood conditions part. We have a severe drug dealing and evidently drug making problem on 11th Avenue, as evidenced by the explosion of the building the other night at 1501 11th Avenue South. The building I live in is vulnerable adults and seniors, and this behavior is happening 60 feet from the door of one of our buildings. So the improved neighborhood livability, I would like the uses for that money to be expansive enough that we as a neighborhood group and as residents could hire off-duty police to help us patrol there, to do those kinds of things that deter crime without it getting violent. I mean, I sat at the bus stop today with two people that were just smoking right next to me while I was getting on the bus. But what I also want to say, and maybe the city is already aware of this, that Crow Company attempted to buy the Aon facility, and they backed out of that sale. And we currently have Aon that is that is underwater, and we have PPL that is underwater financially. They are going to be coming to this city. So the $18 million that you have for this is barely going to fit the thing. So I just want you to know that the problem is pretty big. So I just want, you maybe already know that, and I'm just, repeating it. But personally, I'm just here to get money for us to be able to do creative things in the neighborhood with the neighborhood association to mitigate that problem that we have on 11th Avenue. We should not have to live with that at our ages.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Are there anyone who would like to speak? I'll close the public hearing, and also thanks for coming and thank you for that testimony. I'll close the public hearing and make a comment. Thank you for coming, and I think you perfect highlighted the challenges Elliott Park is having, and having this process and having the comment from the residents will be recorded, and hopefully we can find a creative way to make sure that in that neighborhood we're paying more attention to the challenges. It's a beautiful place. It's close to the beautiful Elliott Park neighborhood, and also a lot of buses and Metro Transit has a presence there. So last night I attended a couple of meetings in that, and we'll continue to listen to the residents, and hopefully this plan or this money could find a way to that area. Are there a council member?
Rainville.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Barb, thanks for coming down today. A great article in the paper today about your efforts picking up the needles and trying to bring some sanity in the neighborhood. I just want you to know that volunteer spirit is appreciated, and you never give up, and you never have, and you never will. So thank you for coming down today and speaking your mind. We hear you, and thank you for all that work you put in.
Right, see no one else, I will move this item for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Our next item is quasi-judicial hearing regarding variance appeal for 3505 Irving Avenue South. I'll ask Miles Campbell from the CPET to give us that presentation.
Thank you, Chair and committee members. I'm just going to pull up a presentation here. It should be brief. As mentioned, committee members, my name is Miles Campbell. I work on the zoning administration team in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department. The item before you today is an appeal of a decision by the Zoning Board of Adjustment regarding 3 variances at 3505 Irving Avenue South. The property is located in the 10th ward of the city. The 3 variance requests that went before the Board of Adjustment were, firstly, to increase the maximum floor area ratio from the 0.5 allowed to 0.74, to increase the maximum impervious surface from 60% to 65.8%, and to increase the maximum driveway width allowed from 20 feet to 37 feet. These requests are in regards to the expansion of an existing attached garage off the rear of the home itself. In the bottom left corner here, you can see a survey of the site itself. This is a duplex property, 2-story dwelling with a basement below. That garage, again, is off the rear of the principal dwelling itself. I won't go into the full details on some of these numbers. You all received copies of the staff report that went to the Board of Adjustment. I'll just highlight here that the existing structure has that gross floor area, so the first and second floors with the attached garage of 4,283 square feet. That would put it already at a 0.726 floor area ratio. That's in comparison to the lot area itself. And the existing structure is also already above that 60% impervious limit. Essentially, this is a legally non-conforming structure. It was constructed prior to some of these regulations in the zoning code and is allowed to be repaired, replaced, and maintained in perpetuity. The variance in this case is in order to expand the existing garage by pushing it further to the north, closer to that north property line on the side, as well as expanding the existing driveway again to the north just to match that new facade on the north side. The purpose for this, from the applicant's perspective, right now, this is a slightly undersized double garage for the 2 units. So essentially, they have, I believe, 15-foot garage doors for both of those 2 halves. Something like a 1.5-car garage probably is the way to describe it. They're hoping that with this addition, they'd be able to have 2 full 2-car garages for both units in the duplex. Again, the overall change here, you can see on the bottom here, the overall increase in square footage for the garage and driveway. This is largely a very small increase compared to what's existing. Part of the issue here is just because the lot is already so far in excess of those requirements in terms of floor area and impervious surface. When we examine land use variances here in the state of Minnesota and at the Board of Adjustment, we're looking at the 3 prongs primarily of the practical difficulty standards set out in the legislature. So we look at whether the site exhibits unique circumstances, whether this proposed use is reasonable or in the spirit and intent of the code, and whether it meets or would impact the essential character of the neighborhood or surrounding properties. Additionally, this is a property located in the Shoreland District. It's just a few blocks east of Binnamacoska. And in that regard, it also needs to meet 3 more standards of prevention of soil erosion, visibility from public waters of the addition or the change in the property, and the suitability of protected waters for the proposed watercraft. In terms of our discussion at the Board of Adjustment and staff's recommendation to you all, staff finds that all 3 items and tests of the Shoreland District standards are met by this. This really has no impact on that protected water. And we also find that the essential character or the impact on that surrounding is not impacted by this. Again, this is a addition to the rear of the property. As the applicant notes in their appeal and in their original proposal, there are other properties located along this street and alley that do have large double garages for duplexes. So we don't see this really changing that overall character. Staff, however, does feel that the first 2 standards of that practical difficulties test are not met by the proposal. Firstly, in terms of unique circumstances, this is a regularly shaped lot of standard proportions for the city. There is no topography or grade to work around, no mature trees or floodplains. Again, this is a very standard lot and is not encumbered by any unique circumstances. Secondly, in terms of the reasonable use or spirit and intent of the code, again, in staff's report, we broke down a little bit of some of the comprehensive plan policies and goals. A lot of the language in the comprehensive plan is seeking to reduce or manage existing impervious surface or new added impervious surface for purposes of stormwater management or combating climate change impacts or urban heat island effect. In that sense, staff does not feel it is a reasonable request to further increase that existing excess of the floor area ratio and impervious surface. I'll note that at its July 25th meeting, the Zoning Board of Adjustments did vote 7-0 to deny each of these variance requests and adopted staff's findings for those practical difficulty standards. And following that decision, we have received 3 public comments in written form. Those all should have been sent to you prior to the meeting, and they will be included in the record following this. 2 were in support of this item, as well as 1 being opposed to it. With that all being said, I'm happy to stand for questions from the committee members.
Thank you for that presentation. Are there any questions from council members? Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Chair. Do other homes have double-car garages like this in the area?
There are some, Chair Osman and Councilmember Rainville, there are a few on that existing alley. I believe the lot just adjacent to this was called out in the appeal documents as having that existing double garage. Staff did look back, and the garage that is in place next door does appear to date back to maybe the late 80s at kind of the earliest point. It would have been in place prior to adoption of floor area ratio regulations by the city. So no variance was required for it, but it also could not be built today by right.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osman. In the last sentence of your presentation, you mentioned 2 in support and 1 against. Could you repeat that sentence?
Yes, so we received 3 public comments in total.
Public comments.
2 were from neighbors in support of the garage addition, and 1 was against the expansion of it.
Okay, and just to clarify on Councilmember Rainville's question, that there are other garages nearby that have the same amount of space, so like 2 double garages, so 4 garage stalls, but it's from the 1980s.
Correct, Chair and Council Member. The other garages on this alley either appear to be from prior to floor area ratio being adopted and would essentially be considered, again, legally non-conforming, similar to the structure that we're discussing today.
Thanks.
Oh, my question is now the size is 15, they're asking 16? Just the one?
Chair Osmond, that's for the door width itself. I believe the full structure today is right around 34 feet in width, and this would bump it out to be 37 feet total.
Sure. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I'm curious, is this a single-family home or a multifamily?
Chair and Council Member, this is a two-family dwelling. It is under what's called a CIC plat, so essentially a condo with 2 units included.
So only one occupant can use the garage?
Currently, there are 2, again, kind of 1.5 stall garages. Here you can see on the right the existing garage conditions. Again, so 22 feet in depth with 34 feet total. That's split amongst the both units. So both can park 1 car in an enclosed space with some storage. And then the driveway behind it, kind of to the alley, is roughly 24 feet in depth, would have some additional space to park, obviously in an unenclosed fashion.
Mm-hmm. What would be the impact on other neighbors if the appeal was overturned? Granted, I'm sorry.
So again, I think staff is comfortable with the fact that this would not be really injurious to adjacent properties. Again, there are other properties with similar garage styles. Largely where staff disagrees with the applicant is in terms of the fact that this is already, again, to put it into perspective, this lot is 5,898 square feet. If we applied sort of the by right 0.5 floor area ratio, that would allow them 2,949 square feet. The proposed that they're talking about is 4,364.5 square feet. So a major overrun over what would be allowed for any sort of new construction or an addition without a variance.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, thank you so much for that presentation. We will now proceed to open the public hearing. We will first offer the appellant or appellant's representative an opportunity to speak, and you might have 10 minutes. I have Elizabeth, appellant. Come on in. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Osman and council members. My name is Elizabeth Hoyam, and I live at 3505 Irving Avenue South, the property in question. As Councilmember Jenkins asked, this is essentially an upstairs-downstairs duplex that has been turned into 2 condos, so 2 units, each with one of these garages. And I have lived at this property in the city for 20 years, and I have also spoken with our neighborhood association, and they are in support of this as livability in the city, really going to the spirit of having denser housing. Everything on this block are duplexes and triplexes. They're all non-conforming based on being built in the last 90 to 100 years. And this current garage configuration, we have 15 feet garage doors. In what I submitted, the next door neighbor has 16 feet garage doors. You can't even tell by looking that they're different. I didn't realize that until we measured the garages, but with the 16-foot doors, they function as double garages, where with the 15-foot doors, they really don't. So adding 3 feet 9 inches is a very minor variation. It's a 1/100th increase to the floor area ratio, and so we're asking for this to make it more livable, as well as it doesn't seem like it really injures the neighbors. The neighbors on both sides have submitted letters in support of. I am not familiar with and haven't seen the letter in opposition to. There was no opposition at the previous board to that. And I am happy to answer any questions that you might have.
We will not be taking any questions, but Councilmember Jenkins, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
And now I will allow others who sign up to speak or who have not signed up to speak. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and ask Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I would like to make a motion to grant this appeal. I think that investing in our city is just like the businesses that were here and are investing. This is a resident that's investing. It's going to add to the livability, add to the way that density functions in that neighborhood. So I would move this and encourage my fellow council members to approve it as well.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I thank the appellant for coming forward and the comments that were made here today. I think for me, I don't think I'm going to be able to support the appeal today, primarily due to the impervious surface requirements that we have in the city of Minneapolis. 60% impervious surface is what we allow, and this driveway already exceeds that at 62.8%, and this would increase it to 65.8%. And why this maximum is important is not just about the individual neighborhood, it's looking citywide, right? As we increase impervious surface citywide, it has impacts around urban heat island impact, erosion, the treatment of our water, all of those reasons, and that's why we put forward this policy. And in other meetings, we have denied variances and applications for the same reason, so I won't be able to support that motion today.
Are there any other questions? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond. I think that both Councilmember Rainville and Councilmember Chowdhury make good points. I wouldn't say that this increases density because nobody else is going to be able to live in this space just because the garage gets bigger. So it doesn't increase density in that sense unless you want to comment on how it does. But I also don't think that this is that big of a deal for the neighborhood, just given that it does pass the test of not causing harm to the neighbors. I just would like to ask for clarification if you would actually be changing the garage entirely or just the doors. Maybe someone can answer that question. I could look up their report as well.
Staff, do you know what the...
Chair and council members, I believe this is a larger reconstruction of the garage structure itself. The structure itself is pretty old, and the applicant has kind of specified that either way there is going to be some sort of reconstruction happening. This wouldn't just be the doors themselves. It would be kind of a expansion of that existing garage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to make comment? Councilmember Rainville.
Councilmember Cashman, what I meant to say, and excuse me if I wasn't clear, is that this is a dense neighborhood, and by having off-street parking for each car, that would improve their livability.
All right. Seeing no other comment, I'll ask clerk to call the roll for Councilmember Rainville's motion to grant appeal.
Councilmember Rainville.
Yes.
Cashman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
No.
Chair Osmond.
No.
There are 3 ayes and 2 nays.
That motion carries. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Seeing that the committee has passed a motion to grant the appeal, I would ask that you separately pass a motion directing my office to prepare findings regarding the appeal. I also think it would be wise if the committee could speak to the first 2 findings, which need to be met, or the unique circumstances applicable to the property. I would remind the committee that all 3 findings need to be met, and certainly the staff has conceded that the 3rd finding has not been met. But just the fact that there are other design choices doesn't necessarily mean that those initial findings are met. And I don't know if I've heard anything regarding how those first two findings have been met. Certainly my office could work with the council members to attempt to do so. But when we're dealing with these variances, they are statutorily governed, and there are findings that need to be met. And I think there needs to be some more discussion regarding how those first two findings have been met.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, City Attorney. And I volunteer to work with you to make sure that those findings are met in time for the full council meeting. Thank you.
And City Clerk, do I need to make the motion for draft finding?
Yes, Mr. Chair, that would be advisable, simply to direct the City Attorney's Office to work with the motion author in construction of such findings.
All right. I will make the motion for City Attorney to draft the finding with Councilmember Rainville. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Thank you so much. All right, now we are cruising here at on discussion. Our next item is report from Minneapolis Employment and Training Program, and I'll ask Director Deb and Mark, Brenda, to give us that report. And also, I do want to thank University of Minnesota report for being patient. I guess we'll be next. Welcome, Director.
Director of Employment and Training at CPED. I'm here with Mark Brenda, Manager of Programs. Members and Chair, thank you so much for taking your time on the agenda today. We're grateful for the importance that the City of Minneapolis policymakers put on workforce development and on the residents of Minneapolis. Let me see. Let me get this to advance. And our work is about people and supporting job seekers and employers. The public workforce system trains, connects, and supports job seekers with career opportunities and connects employers with the talent that they need. So today I'll set the stage and give background on how we're organized, and then you'll hear information about labor market, program outcomes, and partnerships. You'll hear about how we're preparing our future workforce with programs like Step Up, featured here on the slide, along with supporting efforts to help employers thinking differently about their hiring with skills-based hiring efforts, and how we're supporting the state-of-the-art of a new, first-of-its-kind statewide apprenticeship outreach office. Apprenticeships are the future, and we want to be sure job seekers in Minneapolis get connected to them. We've also been looking to future industries and impacts to the workforce with topics like cannabis, green jobs, and AI in the workforce, in the workplace. We're still at a time of record low unemployment rate. Right now, we also have labor supply issues, but fortunately, tight labor markets are a key time for those that the labor market may have overlooked or has left behind. So this is our work. Workforce development is economic development, and investing in people is a key component of the city's economic development strategy. The work we do with job seekers and young people is good for business and for the city. And we have staff who are deeply committed to this work. Even for myself, I was once a job seeker, one of those job seekers, which is how I got into the career of workforce development. I was laid off from a job at a nonprofit organization and went through job seeking services as a client. A dislocated worker client, and this organization helped me with my resume, helped me buy interviewing clothes, and even helped me fix my old car. Most importantly, they provided me with the support that I needed to get through a period of joblessness. Eventually, the agency that helped me hired me. I'll move on to the next slide, and this is what guides our work. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is the legislation which provides the rules and the guidance and the policy on programming oversight. You can see the different iterations of the law and it was last authorized about 10 years ago. The law is in the process of reauthorization now as we speak. Federal legislation along with state statutes create the public workforce system that we have today. And this is how we organize ourselves in the state. There are 16 local workforce development boards covering all 87 counties in the state. The state agency that we work very closely with is DEED, and many times the funding flows through them to us. You can see the Career Force logo at the bottom of the page. It used to be called Workforce Centers. The system is now branded as Career Force, with local workforce boards providing the operational support to the 50 Career Force locations across the state in collaboration with DEED and the other partners to serve both job seekers and employers. And in Minneapolis, we have 2 locations, one at 800 West Broadway, which is our comprehensive center, and where all core services are located there, and the other is at 777 East Lake Street, a location where our own Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs and staff from various city departments have started to offer connections to city, community, and legal immigration resources there during weekly community office hours, and it's really becoming well known as a site for that, for newcomer services. Minneapolis Employment and Training, we are the administrative entity for the local workforce board, the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board. The boards are business-led, and the majority of the members are from the private sector. The boards are responsible for overseeing federal funding and programming, along with our one-stop or our career force locations in each of our local areas. Our state has a history of being one of the top performing state workforce systems in the country. And we've demonstrated a track record of developing cutting edge programs while continuously improving services. And so our mission, Minneapolis Workforce Board's mission and approach, is really embedded in equity and inclusivity. We have a diverse board that reflects Minneapolis, with committed members being champions and ambassadors of the work. Our work is community-centered, neighborhood-based, and equity-focused and inclusive. I received an email from Cinnamon Pelly, Executive Director of Pillsbury United Communities, the other week that I'll share with you before I'll turn it over to Mark. And she was just saying, our partnership with Minneapolis Employment and Training has been instrumental in connecting job seekers with meaningful opportunities that lead to skills-based careers and entrepreneurship. Workforce development isn't just an investment, it's an investment in people, families, and the future prosperity of our city. PUC is proud to partner with the city and to offer these career pathways and skills-based training. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Mark. Brenda.
Thank you, Deb. Good afternoon, Committee Chair Osman, council members, Mark Brenda, Manager Workforce Development for the City of Minneapolis, as Deb mentioned. And I want to pull back from sort of the administrative component and really talk a little bit about the labor market, what we've been seeing since the period of COVID that disrupted our labor market, and then what we've seen in recovery, and then talk a bit about programs. So let me just jump in to start with a snapshot of this data. What we've been seeing in the last few years is a rebound in the number of jobs in Minneapolis. We're up to about 321,000 jobs in the city of Minneapolis. That is now exceeding that which we had in 2019 prior to COVID. So that is a nice rebound. We have about 2 million in our metro, and I point that out because our job seekers in Minneapolis that are coming through our community-based partners, they go anywhere and everywhere to work, right? They're Minneapolis residents, but they commute out. And so we have a robust labor market, as you know, across our metro. And in 2023, the Minneapolis jobs produced $30 billion in payroll. So we can see that what we've been experiencing since about 21 and 22 is this building back out of the COVID period. We have about 237,000 Minneapolis residents who were employed in 2023. We have a labor force of about 245,000. So at any given time, and these fluctuate, we have between 5,000 and 8,000 residents on a monthly basis who are actively looking for work but not working. So that's our unemployment rate. That produces our unemployment rate. Statewide, as Deb mentioned, we've been experiencing really low unemployment rates. The state has been sitting about 3 to 3.1. The Twin Cities and Minneapolis bumped up in the last. We were sitting well below 3. We were sitting about 2.5 in June. We did see a bit of a spike in July in Minneapolis and the Metro, which I believe have some seasonality to it. There might have been some larger layoffs that occurred in, say, education sector. People will get hired back into some of those positions in, say, September. We're not seeing that throughout the rest of the state in sort of more rural areas where they are experiencing really historic lows. We have some parts of our state that are experiencing well below 2%. We're not quite there yet, but I do believe that those unemployment rates will come down a little bit. A couple things to point out is this longer term trend. What we've been seeing is that we're seeing some really big increases in labor force participation rate, which is a key indicator of sort of community confidence in the labor market. So what we've been noticing is that our BIPOC residents are coming into the labor force at really high rates. You can see that for a very long time, we saw decreasing labor force participation rates from Black residents, from Asian residents, and from Hispanic residents. We've seen some of those rebound. We do see an overall trend of decreased labor force participation, mainly driven by white residents, right? So you can see this, but we've been seeing those huge rebounds in that. And so that's towards the end. You'll see 2023 at the far right-hand side of that first chart. And what we're also then seeing is a tracking of unemployment rate for residents decreasing, specifically among BIPOC residents of our state. I will preface this to say these are statewide statistics because we can't get local disaggregated data on that. But because of the size and scale of Minneapolis' economy and demographics, as well as our Twin Cities, we have a disproportionate reflection in these data points. So it's important to know we are seeing that unemployment rate among our BIPOC residents is decreasing, and in some cases, coming very close to sort of that overall rate and getting to parity with white residents. This is a good thing, as we know we're going through a demographic transition in the state of Minnesota, as one, our white community is getting older, and our labor force is going to become much more heavily represented by BIPOC. So we want to see those trends. We want to then respond in workforce development programs. What we have to understand in this, too, is that while we like to see these unemployment statistics sort of show what they're showing, right? Decreased unemployment. We also need to pivot the conversation and think about wages. What are we looking at for wages within our BIPOC communities? What kind of entry points into the labor market are we seeing? And are they advancing into family-sustaining wages at the same rate as their white counterparts? If we look at teen labor force, something that Councilmember Osman has asked about, and I think is a really interesting indicator, is that we have 24 years worth of data in this, or something around that, 22 years of data in this. What we're really seeing is while labor force participation is decreasing overall, as we see on that top line, we see a really stark increase of labor force participation, interest in employment in our population of teens. And we're also seeing this very large unemployed teen population that we saw for much of the sort of teens. We're seeing that decrease and come well below 10%. Teen unemployment rate across the nation is always higher than their adult counterparts, but we're seeing some really interesting trends of how teens want to engage in work. All right, so how do we then structure programming in Minneapolis to make sure that we're responding to this labor market, to our community need, to our residents' demands, and for our business community? And what we do is we provide this through a network of community-based providers. On the map, you'll see that we center our work through these CBOs, these community-based organizations, as well as through 3 place-based strategies. Deb mentioned the North Side's Career Force Center, South Side Career Force Center, and then our investments in the Cedar Riverside Opportunity Center. And what we have, how we think about this design is that we want to be where job seekers are. And so you're going to see a heavy concentration in North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis, to Lake Street, Northeast Minneapolis as well. We serve about, on average, about 80% of our residents identify as non-white. And we do this on a budget of anywhere between $11 to $12.5 million a year, fairly evenly divided into thirds, city, state, and federal resources. What does that bring forward? It brings forward about 10,500 residents per year are gaining access to some level of service, whether it be a career fair, in which we hosted 18, Could be on individualized services, could be through training, could be a youth program, whether it be Step Up, as Deb mentioned, or our federal WIOA programs, which gives year-round supports to young people. I just want to highlight some key investments that you all were part of and making available to workforce development as real human capital development investments through ARPA, which we know are coming to an end for many programs, but I just want to highlight 4 and where we put those investments. A $3 million pilot project in GBI. We had $1 million investments in youth work readiness curriculum for all and in converting that to a digital platform to engage more young people. We had $600,000 of increased support services for what we call, and what the federal language is moving to, opportunity youth, those youth most disconnected. Could be in foster care, could be struggling with school, could be in any number of barrier situations. And then about $1.3 million in expanded career pathways work to bring training and new tools to our adults in looking for work. Some new strategies that I wanted to highlight in this limited time we have today is this idea of, while we are seeing the end of those ARPA funds, there's still a lot of creative work that needs to be done, and how can we continue to push forward with what we know needs to adapt in this labor force. What are we looking at? We want to invest in apprenticeships. Apprenticeships is the ultimate earn and learn model. We know that many businesses are excited to bring apprenticeship onto their own sites. They just need help getting there. And we need residents to know they exist. We think of apprenticeship in a few key areas, construction for sure, a bit in manufacturing, but there are so many other ways that an earn and learn model can take place in a work site. So we want to make sure that we're looking at that as a strategy over the next decade. A Work North Side campaign, which is really intentional about making sure that North Side employers see the assets of North Side residents and connecting those two in intentional ways. Working forward on green career pathways in collaboration with our health department colleagues. And finally, looking at the Minnesota Skills-Based Hiring Accelerator, which is really a project meant to think about how hiring processes can work more with skills and competencies rather than diplomas and certificates when we can, which hopefully will improve things like employee retention, increased diversity in the workforce. All right, bringing us to a conclusion. I just want you to know that we're constantly redefining and recreating our marketing materials to make sure that residents can connect, whether it be at the community level, can connect on the social media platforms. And we have here, this is our one of our updated connection pieces that we'll make available to you. If any of your constituents are ever looking for work or ever want to connect to training or think about what their young person in their household could do next, please have them connect. We have QR codes on this marketing material that can be easily scanned and connections can be made. So with that, I conclude. Said a lot of things in a very short amount of time, but I want to be respectful that you also have one more presentation to go.
Thank you so much for that presentation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman. I just had a few comments and maybe a couple of questions. But first of all, I wanted to just thank you, Ms. Bar Helgen, for sharing your story of workforce development, etc. That was very vulnerable and inspiring. So thank you. I spent many years, 10 to be exact, as a workforce development counselor myself, helping folks in those kinds of situations. And so I'm thrilled to learn that you were helped in that process. And then, I know, as I mentioned, I was a workforce development counselor for a long time and was able to work with you guys even prior to coming to the city. But since I have been at the city, I've been really trying to advocate and promote programs for LGBTQ youth, and I still don't see those kinds of opportunities directly included. I was curious because I know that Minneapolis Training and Employment is supporting some work happening at Pillsbury House and Theater, and it sounds like I would think it's a new and emerging strategy, and certainly that can be lifted up. And sometimes in those theater spaces, indirectly, LGBTQ youth are impacted, but I would still like to see a program that is directed specifically at those communities that don't always have the same opportunities at the North Side workforce or many of the other agencies and organizations that were mentioned for a number of barriers. So to the extent that we can continue to work on that, I would really, really deeply appreciate it. And then I guess my question is, how is the program, this might be for Mr. Brenda, at the Pillsbury House and Theater going?
Councilmember Jenkins, committee. Thank you for your opening comments. LGBT community has been a strategy that we have done work in through our ARPA funding. No one specific RFP has been issued on that, so I take that comment and reflect on it, how we can do more in that space. Outreach to LGBT youth was a core component of the strategies through our ARPA funding to make sure that in a really challenging time through COVID, where many young people were disconnected, many from the LGBTQ plus community, that there were spaces and that our service delivery model was responsive to that. So I hear that, and I know we can do more for sure. If I pivot then to our Pillsbury Creative Commons space and that work around the theater arts, contract is in place. We've had really great connections and dialogue with them. They are excited to move forward. They are designing curriculum. They're thinking about how this is going to roll out over the next 18 months. So everything is in place for work to be done at Pillsbury, and they've been very good partners in developing that scope of work and that plan. So the money is in what we call a funds availability notice, and their work is moving forward. So it is exciting, and it is a one-of-kind that we've seen in Minneapolis project to bring that forward. So I like it. I love it a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just conclude my remarks by saying thank you to the department and the whole team for the incredible work that you guys continue to do to bring opportunities to the residents of the city of Minneapolis, whether they're dislocated workers or, underserved communities, and particularly BIPOC communities who take advantage of these programs, I think, more frequently than the broader population. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I do have a comment and also a question too. First of all, wonderful presentation. I really appreciate all the data and, bouncing back from COVID and the youth employment being still a priority for Minneapolis. Employment and training. I do want to ask the workforce or Minneapolis employment training. I think what's important to the community, what I have seen, my own experience and the community I see, is the career training or the skill training go a long way. I mean, it changed people's lives. Having developed that new skills quicker and able to be employed in a higher wage. Could you highlight one or two career training or skill building programs that workforce does? And also, as you can see now, because of the technology and the age we live in, there's other things that you're seeing. For example, the solar installation, the wind installation. There's like a huge skills that's needed in the innovation world. How are we partnering with people that are doing that, and how we're keeping up with the skills of technology?
Great, thank you, Committee Chair Osman, council members. So let me back up a little bit and say that within our career pathways work, and this is the work that is designed to provide entry point to free training in a broad variety of sectors of our economy. We put out twice a year has been our average. We put out about $850 to $1 million per round of career pathways training funds to our partners to respond to. We've seen and train in areas of high demand, which could be construction, manufacturing. Healthcare has always been popular. Within our Cedar Riverside community, which I know you represent and spend a lot of time in, healthcare careers has been a major component of that work, moving folks into that first job, that reskill, that skill up, right? To make sure that what we're seeing is that pathway to employment. What we've also seen is a great interest, especially among younger people, in IT, making sure that those cutting-edge skills that they either are learning on their own or they want to learn anew are being funded. And so IT has been a major component of our training more recently. We've also been seeing interest in skills training in the public employment realm, which is great. We have pathways to that. We need to invest in our own workforce. We can do that in partnership with our partners across the metro. We also know that in education, they're doubling down on diversifying their employment base, and they're asking us for advice. They're asking us for pathways. Early childhood, early child care certifications have been important. Now, as we pivot to what's coming, we're really looking at making investments in occupations that are going to be in the energy sector, things in the clean energy sector. So to your point, right, whether it be solar or wind, what are those career pathways that could be lifted up? What kind of partnership can exist? Whether it be at the old Workforce Center, old name, at 1200 Plymouth, right, which is now a career training center. How can we be in that space? How can we be working with those partners? Avivo, for instance, is one of those that has been in that space thinking about what we could be doing in solar. Working with Summit Academy OIC as they embed green occupational skill sets into their construction skills training program. So we really have to be looking ahead. Deb mentioned one that we know is going to be disruptive. And how do we get in front of AI? How do we make sure that we are preparing our workforce to be adaptable? Because it will be some elimination of careers. We know that will occur. But we also know that that skill set is also going to be, for those who are most adaptable in the workplace, how can they work beside AI rather than being replaced by it? And so how do we embed that skill set? How do we embed adaptability within that workforce and into the training programs? And so we're really trying to look ahead of time, which I will say tends to be a little hard when you're looking at deed demand data, which tells us we need these 5 occupations. But those 5 occupations may be very different 5 years from now. So we're always trying to play a predictive game as well as respond to what community needs today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and it's really important that we continue to support this department and make sure that people are keeping up on getting those resources much needed. It changed people's lives. Thank you so much for coming today and that wonderful presentation. Our next item is report from Cura on commercial to residential conversion. Thank you so much for being patient and sticking around, and welcome. On the last item, I will direct staff to receive and file that report. Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Chair Osman, thank you, council members, and thank you to the city staff for inviting us to present today. My name is Evan Davis. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Minnesota. My co-author is Dr. Ed Getz, who is the director of the Center for Urban and Regional Affairs. So there's 3 main things that we're trying to accomplish in presenting you this report today, which is to give you an overview of the background on adaptive reuse and some of the Minneapolis context, to cover 3 city cases as some specific examples to look what other cities are doing, and then finally to present a number of policy options from a nationwide survey of policies. As a quick note, the directive was to focus on commercial and office space conversions, so most of these insights will focus on that. Some will be broader, thinking about adaptive reuse more broadly. So starting off, adaptive reuse is known as the process of renovating an existing building to serve in this different capacity than its original purpose. And a lot of the touted benefits are sustainability, in that the greenest building is one that already exists, historic and cultural preservation to try to preserve the architectural history of these buildings, and it can, in the right conditions, be more cost-effective and efficient. There are, however, the challenges, as we know, and we categorize these within 3 different areas. Regulatory challenges, which refers to building code, zoning challenges that may impede or hinder a developer from successfully converting a space. Logistical challenges, this goes to the difficulty in addressing some of the buildings as they exist, older buildings, say with a large floor plate that need to be subdivided into smaller individualized units. The final piece is financial, which is finding the funding, the gap funding for these projects to actually incentivize reuse of these buildings rather than just demoing and rebuilding. So just a little bit of Minneapolis background. You all will be a little bit familiar with this information, but I just want to highlight these so that we have some background context. As of 2024 Q1, we're looking at an elevated office vacancy rate of 21%. For reference, before the pandemic, that was around 13%, and this is from a Collier's report. And this is in the Minneapolis Central Business District specifically. Ongoing housing affordability crisis, one report looks at 76,500 units deficit in 2022 in the MSP metro area. Much of this shortage does exist with low to moderate income households additionally. And then finally, we're looking at municipal budget shortfalls, part of which is coming from the decreased valuation of these CBD office buildings. And so all of this corresponds with rising adaptive reuse in cities. So there are over 240,000 new units on the U.S. market since the 1950s, and over half of these conversions have occurred in the last decade. So it's already ramping up before the pandemic, and obviously it's even more prevalent now. And so if you look at these numbers, Minneapolis conversion projects as of 2020, we've seen 27 buildings accounting for 3,500 units. And from 2024 on, we're looking to about double that amount of units. And this is coming from Yardi Matrix data, which is one of the only private sources to track adaptive reuse projects. So we're going to jump into some of the city case studies. We selected these cases based on cities that are either actively promoting a high number of adaptive reuse compared to other cities, or those that have a robust adaptive reuse program or a compelling angle in particular that's driving their adaptive reuse. So starting first with Denver, Colorado, much of the details in this you can find in the report as well if you want to reference back to that, and we can talk more about some of those details in discussion as well. In 2020, the city published an adaptive reuse program strategy paper. This was an opportunity to interview department staff and get a lay of the land. And this looked at Denver's existing regulations and how they might go about addressing adaptive reuse of buildings. It's currently implemented in 2 districts that they have targeted as a priority. And it is in the evaluation phase right now. So we're still seeing outcomes from this in Denver as it's happening. And their program is oriented around 4 main areas. So as I mentioned, regulation is one. This would be specifically what is stopping developers from reusing rather than demoing and rebuilding different buildings. Facilitation and processing, which would look at streamlining adaptive reuse projects. Their answer in part here was also to add an interdepartmental liaison. This would be someone that can actually coordinate some of the adaptive reuse projects across the different permitting departments. The partnership and assistance piece is working to consolidate information in one central location, especially online, so that both applicants and regulators know where to go for this information. It's also working with different existing things like the local area plans or citywide building surveys that are ongoing. And then finally, education was creating an adaptive reuse user's handbook, creating a central website, as I said, for all of this information, and then creating training materials, both targeted and general, for folks that are both applying to create an adaptive reuse project, as well as those who are regulating that. Next, we will shift to Cleveland. And Cleveland, despite being a relatively smaller city compared with some of the others, has some of the highest numbers of adaptive reuse projects in the country. And a big part of this is that they have used preservation as a citywide goal and a priority. And so they've talked about preserving both architectural masterpieces like the building featured there as the Terminal Tower, as well as Main Street, what they call community schools, churches, and other cultural institutions. They also conducted a property inventory in 2023, and this was really effective at looking at all 163,000 parcels in the city and identifying areas where they might be able to reuse vacant properties. They've also worked with a lot of preservation nonprofits to create ample funding opportunities for facade easements and different strategies to try to incentivize adaptive reuse. And the Landmarks Commission works very closely with prospective adaptive reuse project applicants to ensure that they're able to get federal and state tax dollars for historic preservation. The final piece of this is they are considering switching to a form-based zoning code, which is a bigger picture idea. Rather than just using a use-based or hybrid, it would look at regulating the physical form of buildings rather than explicitly defined uses. This would theoretically make changing building uses easier, but it's still up to be seen how they will implement this in addition to their adaptive reuse program. Finally, we're going to look at Chicago, Illinois. And Chicago has the third highest number of adaptive reuse projects in the country, only behind larger cities like New York City and Los Angeles. Much of this work started in a 2018 study that studied first the building stock, similar to the property inventory. They also looked at interviews and focus groups with developers, community representatives, and city officials to try to get a better lay of the land that's Chicago-specific context. And one of the main things that came out of this was a new building code in 2019. This did two things. First, it aligned it with the IEBC, which is sort of a standard for cities. We have it here in Minneapolis. But they also added additional amendments to create a specific rehab code. And this would make it easier for buildings that have rehabilitation changes to qualify for that rehab standard rather than a more restrictive new build standard. They created detailed parking and streetscape accommodations. Again, I won't go into all of the details on these, but some of them include flexible zoning options for qualifying adaptive reuse projects. That could be building size changes, minimum parking, transit-served locations might get special exemptions, and then public infrastructure improvement requirements. And the final thing they have done very recently is started large-scale TIF projects in the central business district along the LaSalle corridor. They have 4 projects that will turn former office buildings into 1,000 new units, and many of these are also drawing from low-income housing tax credits and other funding sources to create almost 50% of these units as affordable. And so this is an interesting potential as a way to finance these projects while still promoting affordable housing within the central business district. All right, I'm going to move into a few of the adaptive reuse policy options. So here we're going to provide an abbreviated list of the policy options. There's a much longer and more detailed list in the actual report. But we'll think about things in both long-term and short-term contexts. So looking at the regulatory challenges, the first of these is a citywide adaptive reuse zoning ordinance. So this would help clarify and spell out some of the specific guidelines for adaptive reuse projects, and it would make redevelopment more accessible and predictable to potential developers. Some cities have done this by using an overlay district as a way to create specific adaptive reuse requirements for particular areas. This is exactly what Denver has done. The next option is to evaluate and study the safety and eligibility of commercial and residential uses in former manufacturing and industrial districts. As I mentioned, this goes beyond the scope of the office space to residential, but it's a recurring trend we found in city searches. And so some of the cities are starting to slowly consider this new transitional use in these spaces. Obviously, there's a huge health and safety caveat on this, but it's something to consider as the landscape of the city changes too. Next would be to adopt an adaptive reuse program that streamlines plan review and permitting for qualifying projects. I know this is something already in the works at the city. This could be modeled after the Denver program, or the city of Phoenix also hosts this, but what they do is they prioritize these adaptive reuse projects for review. They simplify plan documentation where possible and then provide professional consultation specifically to these developers. And the final piece of this is to identify what those building code challenges are that trigger new build versus rehabilitation code standards. This would require some consultation with the building inspection services and the city planning department, but it's something to keep in mind as we move to create a more regulatory friendly environment for these types of projects. Moving on to the logistical concerns. So one thing that's been really helpful is to survey and map the existing building stock and structural assets for reuse. This is, as I said, similar to the work being done in Cleveland, in which a comprehensive assessment of all city-based parcels provides ample information for prospective developers and for regulators to identify where there might be opportunities. The next would be to establish an adaptive reuse coordination between departments involved in the permitting and approval process. So in Denver and Phoenix, this is facilitated by an adaptive reuse coordinator, as I mentioned. And this person establishes materials for applicants and educational resources, as well as trainings for department staff. In the short term, we could look into interviewing and having focus groups with regulators and developers. A lot of information can be gleaned from these direct conversations to support some of the findings in this staff report, and it could provide additional insight into further changes. And a final piece in the short term would be to convene these regulators, industry leaders, community experts, and scholars to identify, market, and rate these buildings for conversion potential. This would go in hand in hand with the survey and mapping of the building stock to get a better idea of where we could target some of these resources. Finally, we will look at the financial considerations. One option is to establish an expanded building reuse tax credit. So the state considered a bill titled the Minnesota Adaptive Reuse Conversion of Underutilized and Vacant Buildings Tax Credit in the past session. This would provide 30% coverage for conversion costs if buildings have been vacated by 50% for at least 5 years. So some of the variations of this law exist in different states. South Carolina is one. But the specifics of the law would need to be sorted out, but I think it's something that at the municipal level we could look at and consider as well. Offering waivers or reduced development impact fees or permit processing fees for qualifying adaptive reuse projects. One example of this is the city of Phoenix. They implement a very simple model, which is a fee reduction of $7,000 for an eligible adaptive reuse project. In the short term, there are already a ton of, in the report you can see there are already a ton of existing tax credits, loans, grants, and other existing opportunities for financing this. Consolidating these and making it well known to developers would be one way that you can have this centrally located and available to folks so they know where to go. Denver is the only city I found that had this consolidated in a table form that was very accessible and easy to use. And the final point is to prioritize community development corporations, nonprofit developers, and other small-scale developers in support for adaptive reuse projects. This likely goes beyond the scope, again, of the large office buildings in the central business district, but it's something that would help support smaller developers as they approach the complexity of an adaptive reuse project. Chicago, for instance, has used their Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and transferred some vacant properties held by the city to community development corporations as sort of a model to finance these projects in neighborhoods that lack the private investment. Again, some of the larger buildings in the CBD would need to be taken on by larger developers, but I think it's an important piece of the puzzle to consider in addition to some of the other strategies. With that, thank you, Chair Osman, thank you, council members and city staff for inviting us to present, and I welcome any questions or comments you have.
Oh, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I think our staff will find it super useful for this information as well. I do have a question before I call Councilmember Cashman. We are seeing more developers like taking a step back since COVID because of the cost of material, and really even the spaces they already had it planned are now developing more and more. So would you see it as challenge, some of your challenge, just that things are not moving as they're supposed to be before we even move to the conversion of it? Is that a challenge, COVID effect?
Yeah, so a couple pieces to this. I think first, what the latest data on office vacancy rates is saying is that it's a new normal, so it's sort of stabilized over the last couple of quarters. And so they're saying that there will be offices continuing to be at an elevated vacancy rate. I do think what you said is a challenge in that basically with construction costs rising, the one thing I want to note on that is that in a conversion project, the costs are oftentimes flipped in that it's actually higher labor costs for a conversion project and less of a construction cost issue. So there might be some opportunity here if construction costs remain high to actually create some of these adaptive reuse projects. But yes, I do think it's always going to be a bit of a challenge when there's a slower development sort of scenario going on right now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I think we are aware of how much space, how much buildings that are no longer offices or banks in my district. We know Wells Fargo Mortgages, which is a huge building. That conversation is still happening within the community and themselves too. So I'll pass to Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Osmond, and thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you, Mr. Getz, for the research. I think it's so helpful for us to see what other cities are doing, and very interesting that cities have been doing this before COVID. Like, I didn't really know about it until the last few years as a trend, so we do have a lot of data to work with. So there are a lot of office buildings in my ward, in Ward 7, in the Central Business District, that are vacant, but there's also a lot of buildings that are just partially vacant. Maybe 20-30% occupancy in the high rises. I'm wondering if the Cleveland model of inventorying their buildings was only, if you know if it was only for fully vacant buildings or if they're inventorying partially vacant buildings.
Yes. So the Cleveland, from my understanding, was actually inventorying every single parcel in the city. So they did a comprehensive assessment. So they would have done whether it was partially vacant or not. A couple other notes on the partially vacant. The Chicago projects, and more of this will be talked about in the report, but the Chicago projects did a lot of conversions of partially vacant buildings. So they were looking at converting buildings that had office spaces as well as residences, and then create more residences from that office space. So that is happening. And yeah, so I do see that as part of the challenge of it, as well as an opportunity to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And then on the first, couple slides, I think one of them was just really talking about the challenges we're facing with housing shortfall and also a budget shortfall. And did you do any research about how the vacancies we've seen across the city are creating the property tax shortage that we're in right now, where that impact is being displaced onto residents across the city because of commercial vacancies? And can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yes, there was one report from St. Thomas that talks about a $10.5 million valuation of property tax reduction from specifically Class A buildings, so the biggest and featuring the most amenities. So the concern is not as much with those Class A buildings, even though they are generating some reduction. It's with buildings that aren't able to fill their vacancies. So there's some indication that these bigger, more amenity inclusive buildings will be refilled with smaller businesses and companies coming in. So the concern would be older buildings and these Class B and C that we don't really have an estimate of how much the property tax is falling from that, at least from my knowledge. And so I think, yeah, addressing some of those concerns and trying to move to, the buildings that would have a particular.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So just for the committee's awareness, Councilmember Rainville and I are authoring and working with CPED Director Meg McMahon, Planning Director, and Eric Hansen on some zoning code amendments that'll be coming before the council next week. And this we see as kind of step one in a plan to create policy incentives for adaptive reuse in Minneapolis. So I think that's going to be on the next biz agenda, but it did pass through the Planning Commission unanimously. There's 3 changes being proposed to make it much easier and cheaper for folks to get through the permitting procedures on these projects. But I'll just note and put it out there that I'm really interested in how we can further incentivize local small-scale developers and actually create technical assistance for those local developers that we want and emerging developers to be able to do this. So it's not just out-of-town investors who and the biggest companies that benefit from the amendments that we're making.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The slide for Chicago, Illinois, by the way, thank you for this report. It's really gets the creative juices thinking here. So you talk about the large-scale TIF projects in the Central Business District. Were those conversions into housing, or what did those TIF projects do?
Yes, and again, I will refer you back to the report for some of this additional information if you want details. Also happy to follow up if you have additional questions. Yes, they were conversions into approximately 1,000 units. They have not been completed yet. They just got approved. But it's about $150 million in TIF funding for 4 projects, 2 on LaSalle and 2 on Monroe in Chicago. And as I said, they used a lot of different funding. They used low-income housing tax credits, both state and federal historic preservation tax credits, and they were converted into units, but they are all mixed use. So all of them have some retail on the bottom floor, have some office spaces even continuing on in certain, but just a reduced office space in each of the cases.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Osman, and thank you, Mr. Davis and Mr. Getz. I appreciate the presentation. You talked about Cleveland and some other sort of legacy cities. I guess, is it the older buildings that are easier to convert than some of the more modern buildings in your research? And then secondly, are the adaptive reuses, I guess it's similar to Councilmember Rainville's question, are they residential or are they, like I go to Brooklyn and they're turning old buildings into like Targets and
business,
Home Depots and all of those kinds of things, but I'm not seeing the residential as much. And so I'm just curious, is it residential reuses that you're seeing around the country primarily, or what's happening in that space?
Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. So the first question, in thinking about, I'm sorry.
The ages of the building.
Correct, yes, thank you. We talk with these larger office buildings, we talk about pre-World War II and post-World War II. Mm-hmm. The pre-World War II buildings typically are not as big of a floor plate, and so it's actually easier to convert those older buildings because subdividing them into those individualized units. There are always going to be challenges of like elevator shafts, communal bathrooms and plumbing, egress windows for escape and meeting building code. That's always going to be a challenge with these buildings, but the floor plate issue is less of an issue because post-World War II, buildings started to get wider. And so just one of the creative things that a lot of developers are doing are cutting out the middle of the building so that people still have windows on the inside. But it's all sort of a logistical puzzle of trying to figure out the best way to do this. In Cleveland specifically, they are doing, as you said, the older buildings, they're doing a kind of scattershot approach and getting to a lot of different community churches, schools, and converting these into residences. It's still a small number of units relative to some of the housing shortfall, but it's part of the puzzle, I think. And so there are a lot of creative ways that people are going about trying to reuse these buildings for residential purposes. Some will do mixed use as well, where they'll keep the ground floor retail and then will create the office spaces that were above them into residences. And again, I'll refer back to the report in that some of these details will cover. There's, I think, 4 projects per case. That's a specific example of the development. And if you remind me your second question, please, Councilmember.
Well, I guess, the second question was, are they primarily residences versus businesses per se? And then I guess I would just add a third one. You know, what do you see as potential in Minneapolis for residential reuses?
Yeah, I think, so, and to comment on, thank you again for the question. To comment on your first point, a lot of these projects we focused on were specifically residential conversions. Hotels for a long time were the leading conversion because they're already sort of set up that way. And it has been in the last decade or so that office spaces have actually taken over. So it's about a third of all adaptive reuse projects, just over a third, are now specifically from offices to residential conversions. Again, this data source is the only source that I have been able to track that tracks these projects. In Minneapolis, I think there's still a lot of information to gather about where we could target some of this. I think I would sort of defer to city staff in the planning department to determine which areas might be the most appropriate place for some of these policies to occur.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And good luck with your studies.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation. I appreciate you coming. And now I will direct the staff, city clerk, to file that report.
Thank you, Chair Osman.
Yep. See no further discussion. I'll ask. See no further business before us. With no objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.